Dear viewers, today we are going to do a very interesting and emotional topic, that is what happens when relationship breakdown. So in this module we are going to see why relationships break down and what are the various steps or stages in which relationships break down, and we will also see what are the theories behind explaining relationship breakdown, and we will also finally see if we can help people to maintain or continue to maintain the relationship without breaking it down. Of course, this is a rather a sad topic because for everyone breaking a relationship can be very stressful, but sometimes breaking certain relationships that are really getting worse results in lot of relief and returning of peace and joy into our lives. In today's topic of relationship breakdown, we are specifically concentrating on breakdown of marriage relationships. In fact, 50 to 60% of people believe that they are never going to be divorced, but psychologists say that the rate is much higher. So why do they divorce? Is because they have difficulties in interacting and communicating with each other in a constructive manner, and because they are adopting destructive means of communication and expression, that is when the relationship starts getting strained and people start moving away from their relationship, and long before actual breakdown happens, emotionally and psychologically both the couple will start separating. Even physically the couple becomes separated, and it is only finally one day they decide to break up. The summation of research that is done by social psychologists in order to understand why couples break up, they had found one major characteristic factor or feature of many relationships that end in breakup, and that one feature that has been consistently found by these researchers is the level of arguments. Because arguments indicate a negative kind of a relationship, psychologists suggest and recommend that these arguments should not be based on who is going to win. Many times couples argue with an intention that they have to win the argument, and psychologists say that this is not sports. It is not that when there is an argument or there is a discussion, one has to win or one has to lose. Let's have a look at slide, which is a comedy scene that is usually seen in many households. Here the lady, elderly lady or the wife reads the newspaper, and as you can see, she thinks when you have been married a long time, you get to know what the other person thinks. And the husband, who is also sitting and reading the newspaper, he replies, not verbally but inside his mind, no you don't. So actually here the lady is what she is saying, the husband has received the, or rather understood what she is thinking, and so actually she has proved her point, but just for the husband to win the point, he thinks no they don't. So many times arguments, psychologists have traced how they begin, how they progress and how they end up, and they had found that usually although the argument begins with a goal, but somewhere in the middle both the couple get diverted and they forget about the goal and they keep on discussing about many other things. Now let us understand why relationships break in the first sense. Psychologists, by doing lot of research, have listed several factors that contribute to the breakdown of a relationship. And here, a breakdown of a relationship not only includes marital relationship or other kinds of arrangement relationships, but also can be breakdown with a friend. So, some of the reasons that the list is if suppose this person did not get to understand the other partner. Sometimes while entering into relationship, the person might feel that yes, this I will get along very nicely with this person, but along the way inner characteristic traits they surface only after, say, in the middle of a relationship. Initially, all of us try to put on our personas or the mask of our personality. So, initial levels, all relationships happen very nicely, and both the partners try their best to maintain the relationship and also to show their best personalities. But somewhere along the way, once the relationship has progressed, be it marital or relationship with a friend, the true character or the true nature of the personality comes out, and it is then suddenly you might realize this person is not turning out to whom I thought to be, or I can no longer understand this person. So, when this feeling comes, then that is one of the factors, inability to understand the other person for breakup. Sometimes people will get married for many other causes apart from love. If suppose they had married another person because of their social status or their some other achievement, say for example that person is a well recognized member of the community or the person is a successful businessman. If a person has entered into a relationship basing on such traits of the other partner, then when those things something go wrong, say for example this highly successful businessman had to face lot of problems in business and suffers lot of losses. So, because initially the other partner has entered into relationship because of this factor, and since there is some trouble in this factor, then also such relationships end in breakup. Apart from that, if the other person is having a personality style such as over demanding, over emotional, or is over expecting, so the personality dispositions also lead to the breakup, especially if the personalities do not match, or because of the personality characteristics traits, this person is no longer able to enjoy the relationship. In fact, this person is getting lot of stressed. It is not always that others' personality is going to have an impact on the level or strength of the relationship. Sometimes our own personality also is going to have an effect. For example, our own level of self-esteem or our confidence levels or our own personality traits. So, both result in a successful or unsuccessful relationship. Other reasons why relationship break up might be because of some other factors like having problem with in-laws. Probably the husband or wife is very nice and is highly compatible, but the one factor there is the family of the partner is really causing lot of trouble, which is straining the relationship, then that is also found to be one factor for the breakup. So, other factors like poverty and bad habits that the partner has, like alcoholism, drug abuse or any other similar conditions, even if the person you find to be very helpful, caring and all that, but has such qualities or habits that you are not able to appreciate, or because of the after effects of these habits, the relationship is not as meaningful as you want it to be, they are also going to result in breakup. And having children is supposed to be having an ambiguous sort of results in research, because the research results are unequivocal, because some results say that having children is going to have an effect on the relationship, but some other studies show that having children in fact strengthens the relationship. So especially it depends on the level of preparation of the parents and also their own personality styles. There are many couples who break up because they are not having any children. Now let us see the diverse rates across the globe. Social psychologists tried to analyze the various trends in diverse rates, that is, when do divorce happens most, and they found that divorce happens mostly before 7 years of marriage, with the peak happening between 4 to 5 years. Now in the graph you can see the representation of divorce rates. Here married couples were asked to rate their satisfaction every 6 months for the first 4 years of marriage. As shown here in this graph, the initial honeymoon period was followed by an average decline in satisfaction, which for both husband and wife stabilized by the 4th year. So it indicates that by 4th year there is a strain in their marriage, but if everything goes well, that is, if the couple try to do some extra work in trying to maintain the relationship, then beyond 4 years they are going to stabilize. And coming to the scenario in India, now all of us know that especially when it comes to marital relationship, Indian culture is quite different from the Western world. In India, still majority of the people are married by the parents, and it's not by choice, or it is not based on what we call as love. So Indian researchers also tried to study married couples, and of course there is this trend that is slowly picking up in India, where there are a lot of love marriages. So a very conducive environment is there in the Indian setting for researchers, because they can study both the groups who are married by the parents, and groups of couples who married or who entered into love marriages. Now let us see how both of these groups differ. Please have a look at the graph. Gupta and Singh did work on 50 couples in India, where half of them are arranged marriages and half married for love. So you can see that in this graph the results, those who married for love reported declining feelings of love if they had been married more than 5 years. In contrast, those in arranged marriages reported more love if they were not newlyweds. So to explain the results, we can see that in arranged marriages, initially, since the love component is not so high, naturally it is going to increase as the years of marriage progresses, if everything goes well for the couple. So globally and in our own country, there are some differences in the kind of diverse rates too. Now let us see an interesting study that is done by social psychologists, where they videotaped couples, especially when they had come for therapy or in the initial stages of therapy, where they were asked to enter into several discussions with each other. By listing all their problems, these couples were encouraged to discuss means and ways of coming out of those situations. And they have continuously videotaped how these couples behaved with each other, what these couples said to each other, and things like that. And the results have indicated that consistently all these couples they had shown a pattern in their kind of behaviors, and especially verbal behavior. Researchers found one positive approach but found 3 negative approaches. The positive one that they had found is when these couple try to work towards the attainment of a goal. And the negative ones is when the couple try to, either one of them try to change the subject by not that is by not focusing on the goal. And the second one is by entering into unpleasant exchanges, like verbally abusing the other partner or criticizing the other partner, or saying something that is upsetting to the other partner. So, this is the second negative tendencies that were observed by the researchers. And finally, many of them are also found to show avoidant behavior. So, instead of trying to discuss about the problem that both of them are facing, many times these couple tend to divert and they do not concentrate on the problem. And there are some gender differences that psychologists have found, where they found that avoidance especially is higher in men. Men try to avoid the problem compared with women, and women are the ones who give sort of emotional outbursts when they have to discuss about the problem. The most influential theories we are going to do now, and the first one is social exchange theory, which is developed by Kelly and Thibault. Actually, they say that, to summarize their theoretical assumptions, they believe that everyone enters into a relationship just like a sort of an market bargaining scenario. So, they try to analyze the kind of cost that they have to put into the relationship, and then try to assess the kind of benefits that they are going to get. Please have a look at the slide which summarizes the theory. It says that people analyze the rewards and costs, and based on the comparison level, it is going to affect the satisfaction with relationship. Apart from that level of investment in the relationship in terms of money, time, energy, and quality of alternatives to relationship are also explored. So, if they find that this particular relationship is really costly to them, then what happens is they simultaneously explore other relationships that can be less costly and more beneficial. So, all these internal cognitive assessments that people make with respect to their relationship continuously affects the outcome of the relationship. Ileana Walster, she made a criticism of the social exchange theory, and in fact developed her own theory, which again is found to be very useful, that is the equity theory. According to her, she says that the social exchange theory is oversimplifies the kind of complex relationships that we have, and she says that we do not actually assess what are the real costs and the real benefits in a relationship. It becomes very difficult to accurately assess them. So, she says that what is more important here is that what we perceive as equity. that is what we perceive as what is the cost and what is the benefit. So, sometimes our perception of the cost might be different from the actual cost, especially characteristics like personality components might interfere or affect the kind of perceptions that we make. A person who is very sensitive might, even for small things that they have to do, they might perceive it as high cost. But another person who is more balanced and more mature and also have lot of composure and patience might rate a particular activity as less costly. So, the perceptions of the people who are involved in the relationship is the one that is more important according to this equity theory. This is exactly what the social exchange theory also postulates. But what the equity theory adds is, if suppose our costs is found to be much lower than the benefit, commonsensically we will think if our costs are very low than the benefit, we might enjoy that relationship. But it has been found that even if when we think our costs are very less compared with the benefit, then also people are not going to enjoy. So, only when they perceive equity between the cost and the benefit, then only people are going to enjoy the relationship, and only such relationships are going to be successful and there high likelihood that they will not break down. So, any relationship with either high cost and low benefits or even low cost and high benefit, then both these types of relationships are not going to work in the long run. Now, another influential theory to understand about relationships or to predict which relationship will eventually break up and which is going to be successful in the long run is certainly Bowlby's attachment styles. So, 4 different types of attachment styles based on his research on mother-infant relationship. Although he did research on mother-infant relationship, psychologists have found that these results are highly applicable to any other kind of relationship. So, let us have a look at the slide that summarizes all his 4 attachment styles. The first one is secure, second preoccupied style, third is dismissing avoidant style, and the fourth one is fearful avoidant style. You can see here in this graphical representation that for secure and preoccupied attachment style, the avoidance is low. But whereas for dismissing avoidant and fearful avoidant style, naturally there is high avoidance. So, for the secure style, there is low avoidance, low anxiety. For the preoccupied, although there is low avoidance, there is high anxiety. But for the fearful avoidant, there is high anxiety as well as high avoidance. So, you can see that out of these 4 different attachment styles, it is the secure attachment style with the low avoidance and low anxiety that is going to result in a successful relationship. So, relationships break if the attachment styles of the person are anything but the secure attachment style, that is the other 3, preoccupied attachment style or dismissive avoidant attachment style or fearful avoidant attachment style. Initially, the first stage begins with the shock. It is when the person is really surprised that the relationship is already breaking down or has already been broken. So, shock especially comes when the other partner initiates the breakup process. So, after stage 1, the person enters into stage 2, that is refuse to believe. So, they do not want to accept that their relationship is breaking down or has broken down. So, they refuse to accept, even if the other partner officially comes and says that it is going to be over, or directly comes and says it is going to be over, still they cannot believe. Initially they might be listening from the partner's other friends or colleagues about what the other partner is planning, but even sometimes when the other partner directly comes and tells also, they will have difficulty in accepting to believe that yes, this is really going to happen. But after a period of time, they suddenly realize, in spite of what they do, it is going to break up or it is already broken. And so, this is the stage when they enter into what we call as depression, where the person spends a lot of time ruminating over all the mishappenings, and also there might be effects at the appetite level, there might be sleep problems, and the person refuses to dress properly and also stop going to work. So, the typical signs of depression will enter in the third phase. And going on to the fourth phase, that is final acceptance phase, when the person tries to finally understand, yes, this has happened, and then the person tries to make amends by way of trying to enter into other relationships. So, the moment the person tries to put behind him or her the past relationship and actively makes efforts to enter into other new relationships, that is a sure signal that the person has come into the stage of acceptance. So, the kind of the help that one can give to the people who require some kind of support during this stage certainly depends on what kind of level they are in. Suppose if they are in the stage 3 where they are experiencing depression, then the interventions that need to be given to them will be certainly different from if they are in the stage or level 1, that is shock. So, there are many helpful programs that are developed by psychologists and social psychologists and health psychologists to help people overcome relationship breakdowns. So, they can opt for couples therapy if they are a couple, and or they can also learn social skills training if they find it is because of their lack of proper communication abilities or their lack of expressive abilities, that is why their relationship has broken down. So, for such individuals, social skills training is recommended. If the relationship has broken down because of emotional problems, say for example, one of the partner is highly emotional, always gets out of control anger and throws things at the partner and shouts and rebukes. So, if emotional problems are involved, then cognitive behavioral training can be given, where the cognitions of the individual are assessed and they are rephrased, and the person tends to develop a better balanced living. Apart from that, if emotional reactions are involved, other treatment programs can include, such as relaxation techniques, teaching them relaxation techniques, and also training them in assertiveness.